right to keep and bear arms. Now, Hillary Clinton was quite explicit. She wanted judges who would vote to overturn Heller, and indeed a number of our Democratic colleagues. That's what they want as well. Overturning Heller, I believe, would be a truly radical proposition. To understand why, you have to understand what the four dissenters said in Heller. The four dissenters in Heller said that the Second Amendment protects no individual right to keep and bear arms whatsoever, that it protects merely a collective right of the militia. The consequence of that radical proposition would mean that Congress could pass a law making it a felony, a criminal offense for any American to own any firearm. And neither you nor I nor any American would have any individual right whatsoever under the Second Amendment. It would effectively erase the Second Amendment from the Bill of Rights. That is a breathtakingly extreme proposition. It is what Hillary Clinton promised her justices would do. And at the end of the day, it's what this fight is about. We know that every Democratic member of this committee is going to vote no. We don't have to speculate. Every single one of them has publicly announced they're voting no. Doesn't depend on what they read in documents, doesn't depend on what Judge Kavanaugh says at this hearing. They've announced ahead of time. They are voting no, and most of the Democrats in the Senate have announced that in the full Senate. But everyone should understand, Judge Kavanaugh has handed over more documents than any nominee. More than the last 5 combined, Republican and Democratic nominees. It's not about documents. It's not about qualification. It's not about record. What it is about is politics. It is about Democratic senators trying to relitigate the 2016 election and, just as importantly, working to begin litigating the 2020 presidential election. But we had an opportunity for the American people to speak. They did. They voted in 2016, and they wanted judges and justices who will be faithful to the Constitution. That's why I'm confident at the end of what Shakespeare would describe as a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, I am confident that Judge Kavanaugh will become Justice Kavanaugh and will be confirmed to the United States Supreme Court. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We're going to take a break now, and wait a minute. We're going to take a break now, and 30 minutes is what the Democrats would like to have, so we will return at 1:17, and Gorsuch returned about 10 minutes later than that, so be on time, please.
Not Gorsuch. You said Gorsuch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you heard the man. We'll be back at 1:17 Eastern Time. In the interim, an opportunity for us to discuss what exactly it is we have just witnessed. Started out as a bit of a car accident of a hearing. I am joined here in New York by Neil Katyal, the former acting Solicitor General of this country, who's argued 37 cases of his own before the Supreme Court, and Mimi Rocha, veteran of the Southern District of New York. Neil, to you, what did we just witness?
I think we witnessed the frustration of the American people. The hearing began with, protests and shouting, stuff that, I had never seen.
And a big gambit by the Democrats as
Absolutely.
well.
And the Democrats saying, we can't let this hearing proceed. We want to vote. Evidently, as I understand it, under the rules, they are entitled to a vote, a roll call, on whether or not the hearing should proceed. The Senate, the chair, Senator Grassley, said, I'm not even going to have a vote. There's a reason why the American people are frustrated, which is there are games being played about the Senate rules and about these documents. There are over 100,000 pages. The Trump administration has refused to turn over, citing executive privilege. Now, the thing that's so hypocritical about this is it was actually Senator Grassley during the Kagan hearings who said, no, we can't let this hearing proceed because you haven't provided us all the documents. And so they would set a hearing date late enough so that all the documents would be produced. This is the opposite of that.
Mimi Rocha, same question.
I think what we're seeing is how much this hearing is about Trump and not just about the specific nominee, Kavanaugh. And I think several of the senators, expressed that, Durbin in particular, I think, about how, the reason the American people are so frustrated, as Neil said, and scared is because this president who has just absolutely no respect for not just the rule of law, but our whole system of law, as exemplified perfectly by his tweet last night about, the AG should not prosecute Republicans. That president is getting to pick a Supreme Court justice really, I think, scares people. So it's not just process, as Senator Grassley, I think, said, or Senator Cruz. It's a real fear. Why is this president getting to put someone on the Supreme Court who will be there for a very long time when he has absolutely no respect for how even that court or our system works?
During what would normally be her hour of the day on television, Andrea Mitchell has been among those watching with us. Andrea, what in your view have we just witnessed?
Well, it was a car wreck, and it is the Democrats being very aggressive in trying to say that this is being railroaded. They are saying, why the rush? We need to see the documents. Grassley is saying there are more documents than have ever been seen before, but not proportionally. That the very small percentage that they have seen or that they are allowed to even discuss and ask questions from is frustrating the Democrats. They know they don't have the votes, but they, especially with this election in play, want to show that they are being very aggressive, and they are far more aggressive than some of us thought they would be. Even talking to some of these senators, they thought that Senator Grassley's gavel would have prevented them from even speaking out as much as they have. We've seen Cory Booker and Dick Durbin and others, Cory Booker jumping in line and saying and interrupting. So Kamala Harris, Dianne Feinstein, also going through her litany of what her concerns are, gun control, which of course has been, ever since she first pushed through the assault weapons ban in 1994 as a freshman senator from California, has been a big issue, and of course Roe v. Wade, but also saying that it's not just Roe v. Wade, it's that Roe was decided on the basis of privacy, so this also affects same-sex marriage, it affects medical end-of-life decisions, all kinds of other privacy issues. That was the basis for Roe. So these are big concerns, and they are going to use this hearing. They don't think that they can stop it, but they're going to try to slow it down as much as they can. And I think that is what they've attempted to do, and the protests as well from the audience. You and I, Brian, go back to the Bork hearings and other hearings. We've seen controversial Supreme Court nominees before, but I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, Andrew, we stopped counting at around 31 arrests. Apparently disorderly charges being pressed against all these people taken out of the room. The gallery, as you know, is then refreshed with people, citizens, waiting in line to come and see, and it's impossible to predict who's going to be among those rising up and raising their voices.
And in fact, Orrin Hatch, in reading his prepared statement, was at one point shouting just to override the protesters. There is, as you and Mimi and Neil have said, a great deal of frustration, certainly exacerbated by that tweet last night against the Justice Department, saying that the Justice Department is supposed to be, according to the president, a political arm of the White House, which is not the role of the Justice Department in these two indictments of Duncan Hunter and of course, of Congressman Collins. So this is, I think, what has certainly enraged and angered the opposition, the way this is all done. And of course, you've got a lot of other breaking news to consider going on as we've been watching these hearings. And of course, the person chosen to shepherd Judge Kavanaugh through has just been appointed to the Senate.
Yeah,
we've been in this hearing.
Just one of the stories on our docket today. Apparently, the governor of Arizona has decided to go with veteran former Arizona Senator John Kyle, the man who, as a veteran of the Senate, has been Sherpaing the nominee around the Senate. It's already been pointed out on social media, of course, no more dependable a Republican vote than the man whose job it has been to show him around. Ari Melber has been watching the hearing from just above the hearing, which must have given you an interesting vantage point on the protests, among other things, Ari.
That's certainly true, Brian. As you pointed out, we don't typically count those kind of protests. We see them in foreign policy and other hearings, not typically in these, and from our view here in the Senate Hart Office building, we saw several different protesters, as you mentioned, being removed, some being carried by their hands and feet by Capitol Police, that being a point of frustration, I think, for the senators. Big picture, I think what we saw here was the most contentious beginning to a Supreme Court nomination hearing in the modern era, not only because of those protests, but because of the fireworks that you've reported on that kicked off this hearing. That was very unusual. Those procedural efforts to try to draw a line, the Democrats saying the majority of the important material that they still need to get to vet this nominee has not been made available, and that they really want to delay or some other mechanism before they even go forward. Of course, there is a microcosm here, Brian, on the committee, as there will be expected in the Senate, which is if the Republicans stay united, they have the votes. They have a slim majority. And so what the Democrats, I think, are trying to do is to upend that by being untraditional, by drawing a line, by trying in some way to make this look and feel different, to sound an alarm for the American public. But ultimately, the question does remain the same, because anything that happens when the questioning begins tomorrow, or any new information that might come from the documents that just arrived or that could come if those further documents are obtained, that actually changes the mind of some Republican senators. The other thing I think we saw that was expected once we got into opening statements, Brian, was several Democrats really hammering the criminal cloud that does hang over this presidency and this nominee's history on executive power. And I think we can expect the judge to really explain that in his answers, because that's something that's not precluded by past rulings or things that he can't get into when he might say, well, on abortion or those issues, he could rule on them.
All right, Melbourne, our studio just above the hearing room. Ari, thanks. We're going to take a break in our coverage. When we come back, the news already filtering out the blockbuster new book by Bob Woodward, what it's already doing to and saying about the Trump White House.
Grubhub is a delivery app that lets you order from all your favorite local restaurants. And yeah, it is that easy. Grubhub, restaurants you love, delivered.
I always wanted to speak French, but I never had the time. And then I tried Babbel.
Babbel, the quick way to get conversational in a new language. Babbel's award-winning interactive technology gets you speaking right away.
After just 4 weeks, I was feeling confident enough to have simple conversations in French. Their app uses a science-based space repetition method that really helps you retain what you learn. It works.
So, which language do you want to speak? Now, you can try Babbel free, the #1 selling language learning app in the world.
You're learning phrases that you can use right away in real-life conversations. And I was amazed at how fast it was, and now I'm speaking French. I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can see I was just taught the wrong way.
Try Babbel free today. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language. Babbel, which language do you want to speak?
My mom loves to volunteer, but I worry because she recently had a fall. So I got her the new Lively Mobile from Great Call. It's a mobile medical alert device with fall detection. It's so reassuring knowing she can get help anywhere with just the press of a button.
In any unsafe or uncertain situation, you'll be immediately connected to a highly trained agent who can get you the help you need.
Go to greatcall.com/coupon to get 25% off at these fine retailers. This is Casper, the company bringing bedtime back to millions of happy sleepers. Try America's #1 rated mattress brand for 100 nights, risk-free. Unbox better sleep at Casper.com.
Hi, I'm Joan London. Today's senior living communities have never been better, with amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. And there's never been an easier way to get great advice. A Place for Mom is a free service that pairs you with a local advisor to help you sort through your options and find the perfect place. A Place for Mom. You know your family, we know senior living. Together we'll make the right choice.
Why did we create Spectrum Mobile? Well, because we think you deserve a network that was built for you. So for the Explorers, we've got America's largest 4G LTE network. For streamers, a nationwide network of Wi-Fi hotspots. And that's pretty. For jugglers, free talk and free text. And for just about everyone, more savings. For the way you use your phones now, and the way you'll use them tomorrow. Introducing Spectrum Mobile. The best network, the best devices, the best value.
You don't have to be a celebrity to get red carpet treatment. Experience the best at Mercedes-Benz of Bedford, your premier Eastside Mercedes-Benz dealership. Find